Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Hispanic Patriot, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines here in Denver, Colorado. Here we speak the truth and nothing but the truth. So help us God. And for our special Independence Day episode, without further ado, here are the hosts of the Hispanic Patriot, Nicholas Rasto and Hugo Chavez Ray. Give it up for Nick and Hugo.
All right. Welcome, everyone. The Boomer and the Millennial back on the air.
You know it. 4th of July.
Welcome to our special Independence Day edition of the Hispanic Patriot podcast. Tomorrow is America's 248th birthday. We are the longest existing republic in the history of the world. No other country comes close. We will have more on the birth of our great nation and tomorrow's celebration a little later in the show. But first, we have some news to jump into and catch up on. And the first item on the agenda is, of course, the presidential debate from last Thursday, June 27th. All of America witnessed a historical event, the presidential debate between the sitting president, Joe Biden, and former President Donald Trump. There was a lot of buildup towards this presidential encounter with a variety of predictions from pundits on the left and right, as well as the lamestream media, who, of course, was all in for Biden. But something happened on the way to the debate. Biden forgot to bring his brain, and I'm being kind. Joe Biden was prepped for the better part of 2 weeks for this debate. Needless to say, his preppers failed miserably. Joe Biden stumbled right out of the gate, almost like a horse at a Kentucky Derby. He lost his train of thought throughout the evening and could not articulate a single issue, having to be bailed out several times by the moderators. Now, Biden's performance. Before I go too much further, I wanted to definitely comment real quick on the moderators. I have to say, and I try to be an honest guy and above board, and I have to give them props for behaving themselves. I was totally shocked. I was waiting for the other shoe to fall. I don't know about you, Nick, but I was watching, both Dana and what's his name, Jake. Yeah, Dana and Jake. And I kept shaking my head. I looked at my wife. I said, "Is this CNN?
Like they're not doing anything.
Did they lobotomize these people or what, man?" But you have to give credit where credit is due. They behaved themselves. They did a pretty good job on the debate, and there's not much we can criticize them for on that. I mean, they did bail out Joe a couple times when he was stumbling, but I think that was more out of pity than anything. So Biden's poor performance at the debate has triggered a call by Democrats for Joe to step down from the campaign, with some even calling for him to step down from the presidency, which, of course, would leave the country in the hands of VP Kamala Harris. God help us. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the Biden family is digging in their heels and have said that Joe would not be stepping down or resigning as president. The charge is being led by none other than Dr. Jill and Joe's son Hunter, whom Joe claims is the smartest person he knows. Not sure how Dr. Jill feels about that statement. So there's a lot to unravel in the coming weeks, but it's nice to see the Dems under the gun for a change. Now on to some more pleasant news. Before we continue the show, we're going to be dissecting a little bit about the debate. And we're going to play a short video for you that's going to highlight some of the more, shall we say, interesting moments in the debate. So let's go ahead and roll that, Peter.
Folks, how are you?
There goes old Shuffler.
Uh-oh, we're having a little buffering going on here.
I think Joe Biden was having some buffering problems the entire debate, actually, so it's very fitting. Oh.
Oh, boy. Okay, we're having some technical issues on there. Let's go ahead and just discuss some of the key moments that we witnessed
They
during
were
the.
rather memorable, so I'm
And
not
please
sure if we
welcome
need
the
video
45th
footage.
President of the United States.
Even the way that they come on stage is different. I mean, right, like you said, Hugo, right out of the gate, you could see which horse was the better horse.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, so Joe kind of started off on a downhill lie, I think, to use a golf terminology. And I was totally shocked. I mean, the first words out of his mouth, he started mumbling and fumbling and basically just you know couldn't control his train of thought. He would forgot what's going on, and I don't know. It's uh, it was
Well,
just I was just dumbfounded. I mean, I really expected you know some pop and some
well,
vigor from Joe.
let's give the old man some credit. I mean, he was consistent the entire debate. I mean, he was consistently bad, but at least he was consistent. It's like, no, I mean, I think you said it right. I mean, out of the gate, we saw exactly what was going to happen, and we saw exactly what continued to happen. It was extremely entertaining, honestly. So I think a lot of people, they didn't have to, fall asleep, join old Joe in a nap, for the debate. I think that they really actually saw what we can only describe as the real Joe. I mean, he was mean, he was vindictive, he was childish. His expressions had no discipline. He insulted his opponent numerous times. Now, I'm sure, Hugo, that you're familiar with the phrase, once you start insulting your opponent, you've already lost the debate.
Yep.
You know,
Well,
it was a disappointing performance. This is the president of the United States, and this is how he's acting, calling his opponent a child. I mean, it's. But yeah, but we'll be diving into this because there's a lot to dive into.
well, I think I have to talk about my favorite moment. I think everybody has their own favorite moment, but I think the best line of the night was when Joe had basically finished his. Um, okay, let's see.
Well, one thing I would like to mention in the meantime is that I think that in terms of facts, I think Trump had just more on his side. Biden had a lot of personal opinion.
Let's watch. Hold on, Nick.
Oh yeah, we got it back. Very nice. The face that Biden has stuck on right now is very indicative of how his face was the entire time. I mean, it's just this blank stare.
Yeah, while Hugo's doing that, Nick,
Yeah.
what were your favorite parts?
Well, I do
I
want to.
gotta bring on this short I saw.
Well, one thing I do want to shout out real quick is that Hispanic Patriot did our first commentary on the debate. So please, you gotta check out our YouTube channel. Both parts of the debate commentary are there. So check them out. Really enjoy them. I hope you were as entertained to see them as I was to make that video, because it was fun to watch. It really is.
Yeah, Hugo, just click this bottom right down at the bottom of the screen and hit play. The square at the bottom right of the screen.
I'm not seeing that.
The four corners, the little four corners, bottom right of the screen.
This is Hugo, and my personal favorite, my personal
Where'd you
favorite
hit the
part of
play
the debate
button?
was when Donald Trump said that he had the biggest heart of anyone on stage after some personal stories. Because I think like Biden had no personal touch at all in this debate. He tried to be likable and relatable as he usually tries to be. And it just came across as very, very even rude. Like, especially I think my favorite part, honestly, and it's not favorite because it was funny or because it was the most telling, is when he repeated that lie about Donald Trump calling our unknown soldiers, suckers and losers, and then making it all about his son. My son was not a sucker and a loser, and he's not even talking about soldiers who fought in that particular war, fought in World War II. So Joe Biden making it all about himself after it being about a lie. I mean, that's what the Democrats do. They dramatize issues, make them up, and then just use that as the battering ram to strike at their opponents. It's unacceptable. And I really don't like that Joe Biden stooped in the debate to that level of both lying and then making it all about himself. That's what we're tired of Democrats doing, lying and making everything about themselves. If they could stop doing either or both of these things, they might actually be able to run a half decent campaign. But between the basically the I don't want to say vitriol, because it's almost more. I think that Joe Biden genuinely has a personal hatred of Donald Trump, and I think you
Of
could see
course,
that in
and a
his
lot of people
expressions
do.
and everything. Yeah, but the fact that the Joe Biden should know better. He should know that this is, politics is a game, and at the end of the day, this will be actually a theme in our upcoming. You'll see this today, folks. The Hispanic Patriots, the last military month, Hispanic Patriots, Hispanic Medal of Honor winner videos. That even during the Civil War, we had Hispanic Americans fought on both sides. We had every type of American fighting on both sides, and everybody either
Damn it.
died an American or lived long enough to become one again. So the fact that we have this hatred and vitriol among professional politicians, people like Biden who have been around for decades, they really should know better. Men who fought and died by the hundreds of thousands, killing each other, were able to come together after that sort of thing. So the fact that Joe Biden, after supposedly winning, against Donald Trump, still has this insecurity, still has this utter vitriol, this hatred of who should just be a guy who's just his political opponent. He's made it personal, and I think we see that with the trials, and we've seen that with his attitude on this debate. The fact that the Democrats have personal hatred towards their opponents, I think we can say, guys, we are Republicans, we're conservatives, but we do not hate Democrats. We feel sorry for Joe Biden, and we don't like what he's doing to our country, but we don't wish hellfire and brimstone on the man. If that's God's judgment, that's God's judgment. But we don't wish ill upon his family. We don't like that his son died of a tumor and not of war, obviously. We don't have hatred and vitriol. We come, as Peter often says, in love with politics. We have our Christian faith, which teaches us to love our enemies. You have to make enemies in order to love them. So the Democrats don't see us in that same way as enemies to love, but enemies
Yeah,
to crush underfoot.
I found myself. I actually, I think the Lord convicted me in my heart because I started feeling sorry for the guy,
Yeah.
and as much as we like to mock what he's going through, I blame his wife. I think his wife is the one who is driving this guy to be humiliated before the world, and I think that's she's the one that should bear the brunt of what's going on, because what he's going through he can't control, and
Not
uh,
anymore, at least.
and it's a sad statement that we have a president that's leading our country and in that mental condition. But you've got not only his wife, but now his son Hunter, who are pushing him to remain in the race and continue to be humiliated and
Right.
continue to be exposed to world leaders, which, if you think about it, is a very dangerous situation for our country because
Yeah.
the despots around the world look at this guy and say America is weak and they will be emboldened to do something against us. They're already on high alert around the world on in bases. A report yesterday that I saw is that they basically believe that a terrorist attack is imminent upon one of our bases around the world. And God forbid that we start losing American lives because our enemies perceive us to be weak because we have a leader like this at the helm.
Right.
So
Well, and
there,
it's quite unfortunate because also another war, thanks to this guy, might be breaking out between Israel and Lebanon anytime soon. So, I mean, it's interesting that right after this debate, Hezbollah, even after the debate, right, Hezbollah was shooting more rockets and doing all these things. Yeah, no, Hugo, you're right. We have to protect our people in the Middle East right now because they're the big targets because of the weakness of our president. And, we already saw enough American lives lost in Afghanistan due to his weakness. And I think Trump was right to bring up all of those conflicts, Ukraine and Russia, Palestine and Israel, Lebanon, Iran, etc. He was the only one who ever showed any kind of strategic care for these sorts of things. Whereas, Joe Biden, was known as Beijing Biden when he was under Obama and was totally fine to, get bribes out of Ukraine than giving them weapons. Obama, as you know, was not exactly the best friend of Israel. So, Donald Trump was the only guy on stage that said, hey, during my time, I had no wars. And it's interesting, Hugo. I'd be curious to ask you about this as well. Joe Biden didn't mention his tenure as vice president for Obama, I think, one time. How embarrassing is that? Shouldn't he be touting that not only was I president, I was vice president. I've been running this country for 8, 12, whatever, however many years, man. Like
well,
he doesn't have any record to run on in his past or his present.
he doesn't remember being vice president. Uh,
That would make more sense why
I
he didn't
mean,
even mention it.
when he was interviewed by that uh, that DOJ guy, when he was being interviewed, um, one of the things that came out in that report was that he asked the interviewer, "Was I vice president in 2009?" You know, he couldn't remember when his son died. I mean, he was just a cognitive mess,
The son that
and
he yelled at Trump for, being a
yeah,
loser in soccer or whatever for. He can't
right.
remember when he died, but he knows Donald Trump's a loser in soccer for insulting his
Well,
son in
the
Normandy.
one part that bothers me that he's trying to portray is that his son somehow served in combat. His
Right.
son was sitting behind a desk in an office in Iraq.
Which
Okay,
is
so
nothing wrong with sitting behind desk, but be honest
no,
about what you did. Don't
there's
lie
nothing.
about it.
Yeah, well,
That's
he's
still
trying to
stolen
make it
valor.
sound like he was some kind of war hero, and that's not the case. And that's even sadder, because he's trying to, posthumously comment about his son.
Exactly. Make
I
a myth
bet
about him. It's
I
sick.
bet that his son would not want him making those kind of comments about him, and shame on Joe for that part. And then he tries to act all indignations about, oh, how dare you talk about my son and all.
Yeah.
No, there's a reason that veterans and active duty military love Donald Trump. They
And not the
know
Border Patrol.
they know because they know that he has their back. And that's what any military person would want, is to know that their commander in chief has their back. And
Exactly.
so uh, Joe Biden doesn't have anybody's back except
Well,
his own.
and nobody seems to have Joe Biden's back unless Joe Biden is being a shield for him, like Hunter. Hunter doesn't want his dad to go down as president, to stop being the president, because that means his cushy life goes away.
Yeah, his gravy
But
train comes to a full halt.
But I gotta ask you, Hugo. Hispanic Patriot, we're very sensitive about border issues and immigration. What do you think about him lying about the border patrol endorsing him? I mean, he
Oh
acted like
yeah.
that was
Well, did you
absurd.
see the tweet within two
Yeah.
hours? The
Within
the
2 hours, the border patrol
the head of
denied that he had ever
yeah
done that. So,
the
folks,
head of the
be
Border
aware of
Patrol
that.
Union said, "We did not endorse, nor will we ever
Nor will we
endorse."
ever.
That was pretty clear. So, but again, the media covers up for all that kind of stuff, and
Well, and
then of course the proverbial liar in the press room at the White House who comes out, well, he had a cold,
he had
and
a cold and a bad
um,
day.
well, he was having a bad day. But what we do know is he's had 3.5 good years as president. Yeah, okay. Tell us what he's done that helped the country besides rocket inflation, everything going through the roof. Our enemies emboldened because they see a weak man behind the desk at the White House. These are dangerous times that we're living in. People treat this like it's some kind of game. We're talking about the security of our nation. You know, God forbid, but there are terror cells in our country right now, thanks to Joe Biden's open border. So, are we going to see another 9/11? Are we going to see something worse? God help us. I mean, I pray that we don't, but I
The
just
fact is we shouldn't be even remotely worried about it because we should have a president that we know is strong enough to fight off these forces. And Joe Biden, I mean, he lives, I think, in a fantasy world. He lives in a world where things are much better. I don't want to, of course, insult my boomer co-host, but I'm sure, Hugo, you know that a lot of people your age, they have a very bad nostalgia. They remember only the good parts of the past, and they don't remember the bad parts that it gives us lessons and structure. I think a lot of people, in your generation who support Biden, they do so for the same reasons that he flopped so hard on the debate stage. I think they want to pretend that America is still the way that Obama and Biden and all of those, 70s to 90s Democrats promised. They don't want to acknowledge that we have brought war upon the world with our weakness. They don't want to acknowledge that prices are going up and up and up, and people can't afford lives like they could. They
oh
don't want
no,
to admit any of
that's
this
just
stuff.
in your imagination.
I must have imagined when I
No,
couldn't afford a house. Yeah, that's
no,
true.
yeah, you're just confused when you go to the grocery store and everything's double and triple what it was 4 years ago.
I buy
No,
too much food and we buy too much food and gasoline and water and electricity. We just buy too much essentials. If we could just live in mud huts,
yeah,
we would all be able to afford everything.
you shouldn't be buying steaks and stuff like that. I mean, you should be buying tofu and and
I
eating out of cans of
I
beans.
want it on record real quick that at the grocery store today in America, there are many chicken products that are more expensive than beef products. There are more
Yeah.
fish that used to be the cheapest meat in the world is expensive. Like,
Oh,
guys,
and
this is not the 1960s.
buckle up for the avian flu now,
Oh
because
yeah, we
now the
forgot.
bird flu is allegedly spreading, and so that's going to be the excuse when
Yeah,
price
right.
of chicken and everything skyrockets through the roof.
A lot of good there more regulations did for them, like Donald Trump talked about during the debate. They have regulated the economy. It's not just the inflation, it is the over-regulation that stops businesses from being made. This is another thing that Joe Biden has done. He has put back in regulations that Donald Trump took out. And anyone in business will tell you that those changing regulations mean fines if you don't follow those. It means your business could be shut down. There is all kinds of things that destroy our economic potential when we have these over regulations, and it doesn't do any good because you get bird flu and
Yeah,
many other diseases.
I heard this
Anyways,
guy. I heard this guy comment about the cost of groceries and all. He says I have something positive to say. In the last 3 years, I have become extremely strong. I can now lift $100 worth of groceries with one hand. And I used to not be able to do that. So God bless Joe for giving us the power to do that.
Well, and I want to say one thing also about the border, real quick, is because I personally have a huge vendetta against the smuggling of fentanyl into our country. I've lost
Uh,
friends because of this epidemic. And Donald Trump was the only guy to go on a podcast like the Jake Paul podcast and openly talk about these issues. That was the only part of the debate I think Donald Trump could have done better at, is his answer on the opioid crisis, because he gave really good answers on other podcasts and other publications like the Dr. Phil show. Um, so that's the thing. Even the part where Donald Trump didn't do the absolute best he could have, he's already given beautiful, great answers in other formats, in other interviews. Whereas Joe Biden hasn't done any private interviews with any independent content creators since he became president. As far as I know, if anybody knows, as far as I know, he has never been on anybody's podcast or interviews or anything. He can't handle uncontrolled
well, he was
environments.
on.
That's not a leader.
He was on. What's his name? Oh, is it Valdemar the God or no?
Oh, Charlemagne the God, yeah.
Charlemagne the God.
Which is
Uh,
aside from the blasphemous title, yeah.
and that's where
Kamala Harris went on there too, and that's when she admitted to smoking weed, and her dad
that's the
called her out
part
for
when
it.
he told him, he looked straight into the camera and he says, "If you don't vote for me and you ain't black." I mean, come on.
I mean, it's
The
ridiculous.
numbers don't lie. Immediately after the debate, right now, Biden is behind in every key battleground state. And interestingly enough, they were talking about the potential replacement and that, Kamala allegedly polls better against Trump than Biden does. And I have to scratch my head at that one. I don't even know how anybody
Well,
could pick Kamala over Trump.
Well, and one thing I want to say about Kamala real quick is that she actually, a lot of people don't talk about this. She is not just the first black woman vice president. She's also the first Indian woman vice president. A lot of people forget that her mom
Yeah.
is Indian. So she
Mhm.
has two minority demographics in this country, and neither like her.
Yep.
Indians and blacks are pulling for Trump. Indians already had Trump's back
And
earlier
and
last
Nikki
election.
Haley is pissed because
Yeah.
she's
Donald Trump doing better with Indian Americans than, and Vivek and all these guys than literally the first Indian vice president. I've never heard an Indian American claim Kamala Harris. You know what I mean? She's just, if Joe Biden is a national embarrassment, then Kamala Harris is deputy national embarrassment. I mean, that is, they've got no outs. Let's just be very clear about this. And Hugo, you might agree, or if you have any thoughts, the
well.
Democrats do not have an out from Joe Biden. They cannot replace him democratically before the convention,
Well,
as far as I know.
ideally, the only person that could replace him is Kamala Harris. So if if Biden if Biden versus Trump is already a landslide, imagine what it'll be if Kamala is the nominee.
Right.
And who would Kamala pick as her VP? Hillary?
Let's just make the most toxic Democrat ticket ever that nobody could
Somebody,
ever want.
yeah, somebody posted on social media. He says, "Well, Kamala will be the nominee. She will pick Hillary to be her running mate, and when she wins, she will resign the presidency, and Hillary will become president."
I mean, I guess you could do that, right? If you wanted the most, again, toxic American election ticket ever. Like, we are going to put a woman that lost last time and that we know you don't want into office. I mean, like,
Yeah, well, that's
But-
the Democrats are split now, big
very
time.
much so.
You've
But
got
Yeah,
we
please.
officially there have been, I think I've heard three now from Congress that have called for Joe Biden to resign and step aside.
Yeah, they're growing every day, at least one
and
every day now.
and the baying hounds are at the door, and now the media that were protecting him are slowly turning on him, except for, of course, Morning Joe and his dumb wife Mika.
Well, they're angry about everything, about failure and whatnot.
Well, it reminds me of remember Chris Matthews
Oh yeah, even I remember
back
that guy.
back in the I think it was in the McCain campaign or whatever. Uh, in one of his newscasts, he was talking about they were talking about the election during the convention, and he said that Obama sent a tingle up his leg.
I remember that. I remember that. That was one of the more charitable comments that the
I'm
Democrats had on
still I'm
Obama.
still
But
trying to figure out what he meant by that.
everybody is. It was just the weirdest thing. And also Joe Biden also had just a number of weird things that he said. At one point during the debate, he started to talk about rapists. And I don't know why Democrats can't handle this topic gracefully. I mean, it used to be, you remember the Republicans, we used to be kind of ungraceful when it came to, sensitive issues. There'd be gaffes and
Hmm.
such like that. Now the Democrats can't help it at all. But there's one thing I did want to really, really stress because I think, Hugo, you and I have talked about it a lot before the debate. The controls of the mics. They thought they were going to muzzle Donald Trump by cutting off his mic. But I think you saw during the debate, Joe Biden tried to talk through his muffled mic
Yeah, he
more than
did.
Donald Trump. He was totally structured by that. And everybody thought, oh, we're going to get him now. It only gave him structure to be able to sell his points.
Yep.
It completely blew up in their face.
No, I think Trump was well prepared. He handled it well. He was gracious. He didn't pile on. He just let Joe bury himself with his own shovel,
Yeah.
and it was just an amazing performance, I believe. And in my opinion, um, Trump doesn't need to debate anymore. Uh,
It's
if
just
they
for
ask
fun now.
if they ask him to debate again, he says, "Why?
Why?
I don't need to.
I already
Uh,
beat him.
it,
What's he gonna
this
do?
this this thing is all but over. But we're going to talk to the American people, and we're going to talk to the voters, and we're going to talk about issues that matter to them, not this minutia about golf handicaps and stupid comments about."
I can't
Uh,
believe Joe Biden challenged him to golf after threatening to beat him up and all these things. Oh, you're a child. You want to play some golf? Like it's just what.
my you
He
know
should have. He should have just challenged him to a bike ride down the street.
well no my line if I'd have had a little bit of input into that would have been um, to have Trump at one point just look over at Joe and says, "Hey Joe, you still want to go behind the gym?" That would have been my line, uh,
Joe Biden would have got lost on the way to the gym.
provided he could have not fallen below the gym. I mean, no, this thing is over. I don't care who they try to replace him with. They have no bench. Everybody they try to put up there's alleged big savior is Michelle Obama, and here's my take on that. Okay, a lot of people have said, "Oh, she's just waiting, biding her time," blah blah blah. Number one, she's not going to give up her cushy lifestyle to run for president or be president.
No.
Okay, everybody knows that she hated being in the White House as first lady. That's a well-known fact. So, and number two, what is she going to do if she runs against Trump and loses? What do you think that does to the Obama legacy?
Lose all your
Do,
book deals. You lose your
do you
money.
think
It's
for
not
a
worth it.
minute that the Obamas would want to take a risk like that
No,
with
they
the
wouldn't for a
state
million
with the
years.
deck stacked against them now? I don't care if her name is Obama. Number one, most voters are going to realize that this woman has absolutely zero qualifications to be president. Just because she's the wife of a former president doesn't make her qualified.
No.
And number two, she is the most, I would say, vile person regarding America that there is. She hates America. She literally hates
She
America.
didn't have a lot of nice words to say when she was first lady at all. I
Yeah,
mean,
and even after the election,
not a nice
for the
person as far
first
as most
time in
people
my
know.
life, I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah, really. That
Oh,
was a
really?
great line back then. No,
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll be sure to play that one 100 times if you try to run.
Yeah, really.
No, I, I'm in the camp that says she doesn't run, and that would leave Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, or this Shapiro guy who I don't know anything about from Pennsylvania.
No.
And if I don't know anything about him, I can guarantee you 90% of the country doesn't know anything about him.
Well, and let's be honest, Democrats don't have a democratic way to put anybody in office. They already did their primary election. They should have thought about this before that they didn't. They had no interest in anything except getting Joe Biden out there.
No,
But Democrats were stuck with them.
the delegates belong to Biden right now.
Exactly. They
and
would lose anybody who could come in to replace Biden to solve one problem would create another. So many actually more than they could possibly deal with. They would destroy their democratic credentials.
But more importantly, if they were to leapfrog Kamala, that creates. I saw a couple of black women commenting on TV here in the last couple of days. One of them said right out, says, if they try to leapfrog Kamala, they will rue the day. We will not. We will not vote. We will not vote, is what she said.
They're stuck
And
with this situation.
so that's coming from a black woman. So there's no way out. They're trapped, and they know it.
No, and international reaction has been universal on this. I've seen, anything from Japanese to European to Hispanic American. Everybody thought that Joe Biden. A lot of people are saying, "Okay, prepare for another Donald Trump presidency." Everybody. That's actually what the majority of the international reaction has been. Okay, it's going to be Donald Trump, whatever. That's if people in other countries can see it like that. The only reason that people in this country wouldn't be able to see it is, let's be honest, Democrat brainwashing through the media. There is no, or like I said, some kind of nostalgic. We're gonna let Joe Biden get away with it because he's just like us. Um, Neither of these groups, Democrat sycophants or Democrat nostalgia, worshipers, I guess you want to say, that's not enough for the country. But not when Donald Trump has black voters, Hispanic voters, youth votes. When he's gaining city votes, when he's gaining votes with, of course, his own party because of everything that he's doing, successfully leading the party on state levels. There's no
Biden is
as
trailing with young voters between the age of 20 and 35, if I'm not mistaken.
And I'll tell you why. Palestine and student loans. He is losing his youth because of his foreign policy and his failure to deliver promises on his domestic policy. He's dug his own grave in every capacity. When Joe Biden loses, and I think he will have no one to blame but himself. And that wasn't the case last time. Last time, if he lost, he could have there was a million reasons why Donald Trump would have won that election. Here, it's because everybody sees Joe Biden's failures. It would have been better for Joe Biden if he had let Donald Trump win the election and not frauded it. It literally this is, I think, to a certain degree, God's retribution. You don't pull a fast one over on the entire world and change the course of history without really paying for it. Like they said in the Chernobyl miniseries, every lie you tell incurs a debt to the truth.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that covers what we witnessed last Thursday night.
But if you want to witness more of it, again, check out our video where we commented over the entire thing and look forward to other debate reactions.
Yes, our YouTube video is on there. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. I mean, we need you to help us grow, and we are growing. We thank you who have come on board.
Yes.
And stay tuned because we're going to be rocking here in the next couple of weeks at the Republican National Convention.
Bringing you live updates.
Going to be a moment that you don't want to miss next couple of weeks. So now on to some other more pleasant news, and at the top of the list is, of course, tomorrow is America's 248th birthday. That's an incredible achievement for a nation. There's no doubt in my mind that divine intervention has played a hand in guiding our nation through a myriad of wars, starting with the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, Mexican-American War, the Civil War, Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, war in Afghanistan, and the Iraq War. You do not survive that kind of history without divine intervention. And a lot of people say, well, God doesn't pick sides. I think he does. Through it all, and by the grace of Almighty God, our nation is still standing strong. Do we have problems? Of course we do. But I think the fabric of the nation is still very strong. American exceptionalism is something unique to our nation. It means that we as Americans believe that the United States of America is a unique and in some cases even a morally superior country for historical, ideological, or religious reasons. It is a concept held with great disdain by leftists who hate this country. They do not subscribe to the concept, and they do their very best to demean the country that they call home. Uh, all you have to do is go back to 2020 with all the riots and all the people trying to change history and tear down our monuments and attack, our law enforcement, burn cities down. You know, those people were not organically created. That those riots were organized by nefarious forces that reside within this country, and it is a sad statement that we didn't have any kind of prosecution for all the destruction that took place. And yet, for January 6th, they sure went after everybody, didn't they? Including a 75-year-old grandmother who has been sentenced to prison. That's just a disgrace, in my opinion. And that's another reason that we need to elect Donald Trump so he can pardon every single one of these people. So
Amen.
I want to say this. We are a republic, okay? We're not a democracy. And I'm sick and tired of hearing people refer to us as a democracy. So tomorrow, we're going to proudly celebrate as Americans the great achievements of our founders. And we are grateful for the divine providence that continues to sustain us as a nation. When you're celebrating tomorrow, don't forget who we are as a nation and as a people. We are the melting pot of the world, and we continue to welcome all legal immigrants from all over the world. We do not shut our doors to people who want to come here the right way. Be proud, but also be grateful for the opportunity to live in the greatest country the world has ever known. Do not take it for granted, because as President Ronald Reagan once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same, or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our grandchildren that what it was once like in the United States, where men and women were free. Now, I want to give you a moment, Nick, to comment on Independence Day, and I'm a stickler to calling it Independence Day. I know everybody likes to go around and say Happy 4th of July and stuff. That's just a date.
Yeah.
Okay, let's call it what it is. It is Independence Day. It's when this nation declared its independence, and it happens to fall on the 4th of July. That's the date. That's not the act. So, give us some insight into your viewpoints from a younger perspective.
Well, honestly, my favorite Independence Day memories was back at my old horse race track before they tore it down in Chicago, because we always had huge firework displays there. And I think that's what most young people grow up thinking. Okay, Independence Day is a day for fireworks. It's a day for spending time with family. It's a day
Barbecue.
barbecue, exactly. But that's what we need. That as a kid, that Christmas is not the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ just yet. It takes time to understand that. It's about presents. It's about cookies. It's about all these things. So I think that what I love most about Independence Day is the fact that it is for all Americans. It's for the older generation to reflect on a lifetime of living in this country and how much has changed. For those who are older, middle age and such, it's a time to reflect on what they're leaving their children, how the state of the country is right now. For people 20s and 30s, like Gen Xers and stuff like that, people in the military especially, it's a time to really be grateful, like you said, for the country that we have and that we'll have for a long time. For kids, it, like you said, it's that basic. There's something special here. There's something wonderful and unique and colorful, and it has to do with our national anthem. Of course, the rocket's red glare. These are, I think, proof, just like with every American holiday and every special day to us, that life is a journey, and nations, like men, have lives. And people who call us the American Empire, who say we're bound to fall, just like all the other empires, with the Roman Empire, we're bound to fall. I could not reject this more, and I especially couldn't reject this more on Independence Day, because we live in an age not of empires, but of nations. Nations that are always fighting to exist, literally willing to take the biggest sacrifices. If
We're
there's any
not an
country who can do that.
empire.
No,
We're not an
we don't
empire.
have
In fact,
colonies. We don't have anything of this sort.
there is no country on the face of this earth that has done more for other nations and other people than the United States of America, and that's not being arrogant. That's just a fact. Okay,
It's true.
and the
Yeah.
reason we're able to do it is because of God and His love for this nation. And I believe that we were founded on Christian principles and values, and that God helped this nation come to be for a very important reason. And we're here for that very important reason. It's incumbent upon us who are believers to make sure that that message continues on generationally, because
Yes.
there are too many that are trying to tear it down and say that no, we're not a Christian nation, that God had nothing to do with the creation of this nation, and I guess they can tell that to him when they get up to the pearly gates.
Well, the whole point was you had Pilgrims and Puritans, and this took place a few hundred years prior to our first Independence Day in 1776, leaving the oppressive Church of England. They wanted freedom to worship as they knew God, as they felt impelled or compelled and impulsed to worship Him freely, not based on some oppressive structure. And so the Pilgrims jumped ship completely. That's the difference between Pilgrims and Puritans. Puritans held back. They kept one foot in the Church of England. That's why they wanted to purify that church. That's why they called them Puritans. And
Yeah.
Puritans actually jumped ship, and they're like, yeah, we can't do this. It's too corrupt. We need freedom. So, yeah, I know I'm muffled. Gosh, sorry.
You're good. You're good. Don't worry.
But anyways, and that's the point. The point is that the whole idea, the seed of our nation came from freedom of worship. And we built it based on the scriptures, because that's where freedom comes from. If you actually read the Bible, my favorite verse, one of my favorite verses, but a verse specifically for this day, Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ set us free. The difference between us and Rome was subjecting people. If you went against the emperor, if you did not bend your knee to the emperor as God, you were crucified, fed to the lions. That's why the early church, the first church after Jesus Christ, was persecuted by the Romans. They would not bend their knee to the emperor. So there's a very big difference here. We have freedom to worship how we see fit, freedom to be, freedom to live, freedom to grow and to work and to earn and to support our families.
Absolutely.
Very, very big jump from the Roman Empire.
Yep.
But
And
it's
that's
funny that the one thing I want to say real quick is that Jesus Christ would, in the end, conquer the Roman Empire, and I think that's really impressive. That the man who they killed, they would one day call our Lord, God, in the flesh. And we, America, we have the heritage of the Greeks and Romans. That's how we built our republic. So anyone who says America's history is only just 250 years, it doesn't just go back to the 1600s or 1776. It goes back to the foundations of Western civilization, and we
Oh,
keep
yeah.
that in our hearts today.
And the Magna Carta in the Middle Ages, and
It all stacks on top of each other. History,
everything worked towards the founding of this nation, and God's hand was on it the entire way, in my opinion. So,
and we celebrate it tomorrow with vigor and honor.
we do. You know, I'm not a native-born American, but like I like to tell people, I got here as fast as I could. And,
Well, and you're a true American in your heart, Hugo. I think we could all say that, and we're happy to have you.
well, you know, my family back in Peru called me the gringo, and but you know what I tell them? I said, "You just jealous."
You jealous? They jealous? Well, I have a fun story. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I pulled
Yeah,
this
we're
up
okay.
online since our videos aren't working. I wanted to do a little treat for our viewers. So an interesting fact between and in the spirit of unity, in the spirit of whichever side of the aisle you land on, I want to share this story about Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, that they met as they were immediate friends, but they did not agree politically. So this caused a rift in their friendship that lasted most of their lives. But they persevered through 12 years of writing letters between the two. And this is where we get a lot of Thomas Jefferson's views and stances on things, which completely debunk these myths going around about our founding fathers being slave drivers. And, you know, so anyways, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams became fast friends during the First Continental Congress. But the political elections which made them both presidents illuminated their very different political views, creating a rift that will last most of their lives. A mutual friend engineered a reconciliation between the two, culminating in a rich and heartwarming relationship documented in 12 years of letters between them, which historians say must be read to be fully appreciated. As the two of the few surviving signers of the Declaration of Independence, they were finally able to see that they had far more in common than any differences they once had perceived. Amazingly, on July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, these two luminaries died within hours of each other, which is amazing. What's more, Adams' last words as he drifted in and out of consciousness on his final day were, "Jefferson survives." Jefferson had passed away hours earlier, and in his last moments, Jefferson awakes to ask his aides in his final utterance, "Is it the 4th? Indeed it is, Mr. Jefferson. Today is the 4th of July. We owe you and Mr. Adams tremendous thanks. Happy Independence Day."
Awesome. I think I've got this Robin Williams video up. I want to see if we can play that. I'm going to try it right now. I think this is going to be a good segue into towards the end, and then I'm going to try to get the John Wayne one up.
Gonna have a lot of positivity for you folks today for 4th of July.
Here's the Robin Williams one.
I'm the one that they're singing about. Yeah, I'm the Stars and Stripes forever. Stars Spangled Banner. You can call me old boy, but let's just keep it simple. Just call me Flag. Oh, say, can you see? Okay. Well, you probably don't recognize me. Say, who's that? Evil Knievel? No way. Yeah, you see, you can't recognize me because
I'm in my birthday suit. Yes.
I'm wearing the original 13 here. Yeah. I remember Miss Betsy sitting there going,
Oh, this could be the start of something big. Don't be a pain.
yes. I was born June 14, 1777. That makes me a Gemini. Unpredictable, crazy. Yes. I like the outdoors, and I'm the life of any party, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, Socialist, anything, Libertarian, I'll be there. You know, I'm 204 years old. People say, Flag, how do you stay so young? Is it jogging? No. Is it tennis? No. It's waving. You know, we're talking about billowing, furling and unfurling. Richard Simmons, eat your heart out. Yeah, but it's not been easy for me, though. I had a tough puberty. Yeah, war, famine, invasion, and 1861, I had a little skin problem that broke out into 34 stars. But now, well, little patience, look what we got now. Look at this. Hold on here. Everybody's on. Look at this. Alaska. Yeah, we got your Tennessee. How are you doing tonight? Here's Vermont. You can't get that from here. There's California for sure, totally. Like I said before, you know, I had a tough time for a while. I've been in a lot of wars. They fired missiles and muskets at me, but you know, come the dawn's early light, I'm still there. You know what I'm talking about? You know, I've made everything from designer jeans to t-shirts, and I've even made a cake for Mick Jagger. We're all right! The Rockets! Brooklyn, we're all right! But you don't know, it's been respectful to me. Sometimes it's been tough. There have been some people try and spit on me, trample me, burn me. Foreigners and occasionally some Americans too, but I don't let it get me down because I'm not a stay-at-home kind of flag. You know, I've been to Europe. I've been to both North and South Pole. I was at Hiroshima recently. I've even been to the moon. You see me in all sorts of different postures. When I'm like this, that means everything's okay. When I'm upside down, put on your Mae West and hit the deck. When I'm like this, well, that's not my favorite position because, well, that's half-mast. I don't mean to bum you out. I didn't come here to press you, but I got to tell you something honestly. I haven't been getting out much lately. I guess it's not very chic to put up a flag anymore, you know. Muffin and I have a flag, but we haven't found it for very long. Hey, but look at it this way. Don't look at it saluting me. Look at it saluting yourselves. You know, hey, I'm just a flag, a symbol. You're the people. If I may say so from here, long may you wave.
Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Wrapped in the flag is the spirit of nations.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So I got, we're going to close out. Oh, hold on.
We got you.
That's the wrong one.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we're going to let me get the John one. Go ahead and talk while we do this.
Well, as we said, the main theme of this is that 4th of July, Independence Day, is for all Americans. And wrapped in our flag is the history of our spirit. Like you said, it's been everywhere. It's been everywhere around the world, and very soon, probably on Mars and all these places. So we're always putting the flag in new places because Americans go into new places all the time. We don't have boundaries. We should have borders, but up here, we always have the spirit of innovation. And that's what keeps America strong, healthy, and fit for any challenge, unlike Joe Biden.
Yeah. Well,
I just throw that in there one last time.
The second part of that verse, it is for freedom that Christ set us free. It says, following up, it says, therefore, do not let yourselves take the yoke on of slavery. Do not take the burden of slavery. And something Luther said during the time of the Reformation was the default of the human spirit is legalism, is slavery. He had a point that we have to constantly remind ourselves of the gospel. The gospel's freedom, it's grace. And the same thing with our freedom in this country. We have to constantly remind ourselves not to be yoked by the spirit of slavery. The spirit of Marxism, that's the spirit of slavery. The spirit of communism, that's the spirit of slavery. And this is what humans, we in our broken, fallen state, we naturally want to go back to our slavery. It's like we want to go back to the mother's womb and have everything, but that's, so what Jefferson said in one of his letters to Adams was, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. And
that's an American attitude right there.
Hugo, you said something important. He said God is he does choose sides. You're right. He always chooses the side of freedom because that's what Jesus died for. So, I mean, we got the verse, the Bible verses. It goes all the way back to the beginning, a prophetic one. So let's not get yoked to slavery. Let's celebrate our freedom.
Absolutely. So we hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. Happy Independence Day. We're going to close out with a video from John Wayne called God Bless America, and that's very appropriate. I think it's going to be a good way to segue out, and we'll see you again next week. So here comes the video.
Come on, Leslie, give it a fair try. Oh, yeah, and there's one other thing I'll say tomorrow because I say it every day of my life. God bless America.
Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, wide and wide. God bless America. My home sweet. God bless America. Land I love and divide her and guide her
Cash.
through the night.
From the mountains
To the prairies,
to the old cotton,
Like the fall.
God bless America.
My home sweet home. God bless America. My home sweet
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
All right.
God bless America, everybody.
And if that
You took your time to take.
if that didn't give you
what we have.
goosebumps, you don't have a pulse.
Your wood's wet.
Your wood is wet. God bless everyone. And we're signing off for tonight. Enjoy Independence Day tomorrow with your friends, your family. Have a good barbecue. And don't forget what we're all about.
Yeah, the
Thank
truth
you.
and nothing but the truth. And
Thank
freedom.
you, and thank you for joining us tonight.
God bless.
Love you guys. Appreciate you.